The Dodgers split a doubleheader with the Rockies, but it was their rookies who showed out on the mound. Ryan Pepiot, Bobby Miller had their best outings of the year. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Caleb Ferguson and the Dodgers opener, and do they really need it? And Will Smith's struggles continue. Are we concerned for the catcher moving forward? That's what's on tap. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And if you never want to miss a day, because you know we're not going to, you can subscribe, and that'll be easier for you to become an everydayer. Everydayer is someone who listens or watches the show every day. We appreciate those of you who already are, and we'd appreciate those of you who decide to become them as time goes on. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio. I'm usually joined by co-host Jeff Snider, but today it'll just be me. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have covered the team in the past. We cover the team now, doing this podcast. We spent some time in clubhouse, in the locker room, at Camelback Ranch. We've talked to players in the past. We're not quite insiders, but we're here to bring you some knowledgeable and thoughtful analysis of the Dodgers, and we hope that you can get something out of it. And that's what we're going to do today, as we pretty much always do. The Dodgers played 2 games yesterday, and they won the second one. They lost the first one. They scored 1 run in the first one. They scored 11 runs in the second one. And I think the first game has its issues. Well, obviously, offensively, they did have 9 hits. They just couldn't get the hits when they needed them in terms of bringing runners in. I don't think there's, I'm not taking much from the offense here this last month, because me personally, once the postseason starts, all bets are off. Someone could be hitting 1,000 going into the final 2 weeks of the season, and that wouldn't make me feel probably any more comfortable with them hitting good or hitting well in the postseason. So, but that's just me. If you feel comfortable by the offense being, better, you can. Dodgers had 27 combined hits in the 2 games. Mookie Betts did have 2 hits, so that was good to see. Freddie Freeman added a hit. Jason Hayward had 3 hits in that first game. But like I said, they just couldn't get the one when they needed. But 3 of the runs scored in that first inning against Caleb Ferguson, which we'll talk about in the next segment, and the idea of the opener. But this first segment goes to the rookies. It goes to Ryan Pepiot. It goes to Bobby Miller, because in the first game, Ryan Pepiot came in. He ended up having to come in a little bit earlier than expected. Came in that bottom of the first inning, and he just went out and shoved, as he's been doing for the Dodgers since he came back from injury. He went 6 total innings, struck out a career high 9 batters. Did give up a homer there late in the game in the 7th inning. But other than that, just had 5 hits allowed, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 6 innings. He has continued to show that, whatever he did in spring training to earn a spot in the rotation was warranted. Unfortunately, he got hurt and wasn't able to show it throughout the year. But since he's come up, he's now thrown in 7 games. He's thrown 39 innings. He has 35 strikeouts, a .74 whip, and a 1.85 ERA. He's looking really good, and just 4 walks. I think that's the biggest thing. We talked about it last time when we talked about Pepiot, of cutting down the walks from where he was last year to where he is now. 4 walks in 39 innings. That's pretty good, and it couldn't come at a better time for the Dodgers, specifically going into the postseason. Clayton Kershaw at this point is a once a week pitcher. I don't know if they're going to try to expand that in the postseason or not. It wouldn't appear likely. You would imagine he's going to get like 1 start in the first round, And then as they move forward, it'll just kind of depend on days off and where his starts fall as to how often he pitches. But the only real like true starter is Bobby Miller, who pitched in the second game. We'll talk about him right now. So for Pepiot, he's earned the right to at least have a role in October, and whether it's starter or bulk or however they want to do it. But he's earned a right to be one of those top 4, top 3 guys throwing, and just the way he's been going and the way he's been looking. And there's always the caveat of who they're playing. Yes, it's the Rockies, but again, you can only play who's in front of you. And Ryan Pepiot had 19 swings and misses, 16 of them on the changeup. He threw 20 or he had 27 swings on the changeup. 16 of them were swings and misses. That's a ridiculous 59% of his swings on his changeup were swings and misses. I mean, even if you drop it down to how many changeups he threw 40 changeups total. 16 of them were swings and misses. Just that percentage is pretty ridiculous. So obviously, he had that going. The fastball, the slider were there. The one note, he did throw the slider harder than he had in the past. That might have just been because of Colorado. There wasn't much. He only threw it 11 times. He got one swing and miss on it. It wasn't, a factor in his day being as good as it was. But that was a little bit, 2.3 miles an hour faster than he normally throws it. A little bit of a difference. But again, the changeup was his bread and butter pitch, getting him to where he was at. He struggled with it last year. He seems to be on it right now, and he's able to throw strikes. And you're looking at what's happening. I mean, he's been pretty dominant since he's been up the final part of the season. So Pepiot definitely deserves to have a role in October, next to or in the same realm as Bobby Miller. Bobby Miller pitched the second game, started the second game for the Dodgers. And once again, he pitched through this or gave the Dodgers at least 6 innings. He ended up going 7 innings this game, gave up 2 runs on 7 hits, had no walks, and 9 strikeouts. So he continues to show, and the caveat of all this obviously is the Rockies. The Rockies aren't good, but it's still Colorado. It's still, a pitcher, not a pitcher friendly place. And these guys just both went out and dominated and got a lot of swings and misses, got a lot of strikeouts. And, at this point of the year, that's good to see. And Bobby Miller had a little bit different in the sense of velocity. His slider and his changeup were both 2 miles slower than he's thrown them. I don't know if that was a conscious effort or not. He did get 4 out of he got 8 swings on the slider, 4 of them were swing and miss. So, maybe it was a conscious effort. And then on the changeup, he got 6 swings and 2 of them were swings and misses. So, I don't know if that was a product of just the night or if that's something he's working on, but we can only see going forward. He did get 9 swings and misses on the fastball as well, 16 swings and misses total. So both of these guys had the swing and miss stuff going, and obviously it's good to see for Bobby Miller. I mean, he's just continued to show and grow. The last 2 months. I mean, he's pitched into the 6th inning, in 8 or 9 of his last starts. Let's see, he's pitched into the 6th inning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of his not last 9 starts, he's pitched into the 6th inning. 8 of those 9, he's pitched at least 6 innings, with 3 of his last 5 going 7 innings. So he's in a good spot. And, as much as the Dodgers pitching, we don't know exactly what they're going to do moving forward and into the postseason. But with Ryan Pepiot and Bobby Miller, you can't have guys throwing any better going into it. And, at least for me, as I talked about earlier with the hitting, a guy could be hitting 1,000 going into it. A pitcher could have a 0 ERA in his last 30 starts. I don't know if I feel any better of him going into October, but at least with Miller and Pepiot, the stuff looks good. And if the stuff looks good and the stuff will, they have enough velocity to where it'll play up in the postseason. Obviously, rookies are you don't know what you're going to get out of them in a postseason matchup, but I think the Dodgers, I think they'll be okay with those guys, and I hope, and that's kind of what they're hoping as well. The one thing is, what we're going to get into next is, do they need an opener for Ryan Pepiot, or should you just throw him out there and let him start normally? Caleb Ferguson's been an opener the last few times and had some mixed results. So we're going to get into that next. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Nutrafol. You don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health, because Nutrafol can provide a whole body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. If you're tired of your weakening or thinning hair and you want to reach your full hair potential, leading hair growth supplement Nutrafol can improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. It is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Go to Nutrafol.com/men and take your hair health wellness quiz. You can identify the causes of your thinning hair, and it will give you a personalized plan for better hair health through whole body wellness. And it works. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in hair after 6 months taking Nutrafol's men's hair growth supplements. So take your first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On Dodgers listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men. That's Nutrafol.com/men and enter promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Once more, that's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to become an everydayer by listening every Monday through Friday or watching here on YouTube. And if you're listening or watching and you have comments, make sure to throw them into the YouTube comment section, or you can let us know on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. If you can't watch the game but want to listen, SiriusXM or the SXM app can help you out. All you got to do is download SiriusXM app. All you have to do is get on SiriusXM or the SXM app, search Dodgers, and you can listen to the home broadcast for the games. Okay, so Caleb Ferguson was the opener in the first game, and he did not make it out of that first inning. He did not successfully open the game for the Dodgers. He gave up 3 hits, a walk, 3 runs, and has genuinely been a mixed bag when he's been open. He's been opener a lot lately. In his last 15 games pitched, 6 of them he's started the game, and it has been, again, varying success. He gave up one. His first one on June 11th. He completed the inning, but he gave up 3 hits and a run. And lately, August 19th, he gave up a pair of hits but no runs. On August 24th, he gave up 1 hit but no runs. On August 27th, he gave up 1 hit and a walk but no runs. On September 19th, he gave up a hit, which was a home run, in 1 inning. On September 19th, he gave up a walk but no runs. And then yesterday, the 3 hits and a walk and 3 runs. So he hasn't had a clean inning when he's been the opener, which is obviously always going to be scary, especially in the postseason when we're kind of living and dying with every pitch. And, it seems to be that he's going to be the guy to open the game, whether most likely for Ryan Pepiot, it would seem at this point. Clayton Kershaw is going to start the game. Bobby Miller is going to start the game. Whenever Pepiot gets his, outing, it would appear he's going to have an opener. Dave Roberts had mentioned it's either going to be Bruce Dog Gratterall or Caleb Ferguson to be that opener. But, kind of as we're seeing, I think Ferguson's kind of emerging as the guy, probably because Gratterall's been really, really, really good lately, and they may need him later in the game. And, Ferguson is probably going to, or seems to have a spot on the roster, but not necessarily as a high leverage reliever. So then, if you're going to be on the roster, but not high leverage reliever, then you're going to get the first inning, which is, fairly low leverage. And, there's obviously benefits to having an opener if they can get the 3 outs without allowing a run. The biggest benefit of the opener, and I know I saw someone say Eric Harris mentioned it yesterday, but I thought not that it was like obvious, but the whole point of the opener is to I guess there's a couple of reasons to have an opener. One, if a team has a strong handedness at the top of the order that goes against what your starting pitcher or who your starting pitcher would have been. Let's just say that the team you're playing has 3 strong lefties in the first 3 spots of the lineup, and you have a right-handed pitcher starting, then and you have a dominant lefty guy that has very good splits and left-handed pitching, then you would try to steal that first inning with that reliever and then bring in your guy after that. But it all leads up to your starter being able to, or your bulk guy being able to give you like 6 innings without having to face the top of the order twice. Like if you, ideal opener is you get the first 3 guys out, and then, your next guy comes in and he's facing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3. He doesn't have to face that top of the order a third time until later in the game if he's pitching well. And that's kind of what you want to do. If you go through the lineup twice, you can still finish out with the bottom of the order before getting to that top of the lineup for a third time. So it helps out in that sense. But again, it's only helpful if you're well, not only, but it's more helpful if your opener is successful. And with I can go either way on this. At this point, Ryan Pepiot's earned that trust to be that guy. But if they could give him a little bit of a softer landing spot of not having to deal with the best hitters on the other team right away, then I could accept it, and it could work, because again, he would be given maybe a little bit longer leash in the sense of going through the lineup 2.5 times essentially before facing the top of the order for a third time. So I think they're still going to use the opener. I think it's still going to be Caleb Ferguson. I think it's going to be very stressful, just because, like I said, he hasn't had clean innings, and any base runner, any base hit, anything in the postseason has just amplified that much more. But again, if I guess at this point, I'd rather see Ferguson in the first inning than the 7th inning of the game, and that's probably what it's more about, in the sense of getting guys into spots where they can be better performing. And I think all signs point towards Ferguson being that opener. Gratterall hasn't even started a game in forever, so I don't see him being that guy, especially he's on that streak right now of scoreless innings. So again, there are benefits to an opener. I do think that it's a lot, and it's one of those things where like yesterday, I don't think would have happened, allowing 3 runs. I think your opener gets like a 1-run leash. Obviously, if it's not a home run, that's multiple runs, and then you bring in the guy right away. Obviously, that kind of defeats the purpose of having the opener, but that's just a realistic situation of how it is. I'm all for giving Pepiot some runway to be able to go 5 or 6 innings and get into the later part of the game with their bullpen still fully intact. So I think I'm on board, or at least cool with an opener. But I will be stressed that first inning watching Caleb Ferguson on the mound, because he's had mixed results and hasn't had a clean inning doing so. So next is Will Smith, who was 0 for 5 in the second game, the game he did play in, and has now continued to really fall hard in the second half of the season, the last few months. We'll talk about maybe why, and if there's going to be a turnaround, should he be moved in the lineup. all that type of stuff. So that's what's up next. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you're not just hoping you have access to medication in an emergency, you actually have that access right there in front of you. Jase Medical, make sure you have the medication in hand, and it's simple. You go online, you fill out the form, you talk to one of their bird certified physicians, and you get your Jase case sent to you with the antibiotics you need. And you can even get ongoing care from their physicians on any treatment related questions. It's doctor created, it's doctor recommended. It's all there for you to help out when you in situations where you may be unprepared or were unprepared in the past. Jase Medical handles everything from the online evaluation to the licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. And right now, you can get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jase Medical by using our code locked on at checkout at jasemedical.com. So head to Jase Medical, that's JASE medical.com. Use the promo code locked on and get $20 off on your Jase case. Don't wait around. Don't be unprepared. Go do it now. If you are an everydayer, we appreciate you. If you're not an everydayer, you can become one by listening or watching to Locked On Dodgers every single weekday morning. We're here Monday through Friday, wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Dodgers. If you want to listen to the home broadcast for any game, SiriusXM or SSM app can help you out. Just get on one of those and search Dodgers, and you get the home broadcast for any game. Okay, so this is probably a topic that we've should have talked about before, but there's been a lot of other stuff going on lately, and maybe we were hoping for the turnaround to happen, but it doesn't appear to be happening. Will Smith has not been great for a while now. His season OPS is now under 800. He has 18 home runs, but only 3 of those have come in the last month. He has just not been a good hitter for a while now. And it's one of those where you think he's going to turn it around, or you hope he's going to turn around, or he every time he had a good game, you're like, okay, maybe this is the step towards it, and it hasn't quite happened. In the last, it's been a progressive downturn in the last month. The last 30 games, he's hitting 218 with an OPS in the 500s. In the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 155 with an OPS in the low 500s. And in the last 7 games, he's hitting 111 with an OPS under 400. So it's not been good for a while. And we did get the news a couple weeks ago that he, what we thought was, the reason he was struggling, but it's not it's interesting. So he was playing through a fractured rib in the first half of the season, but he was good in the first half of the season. And Dave Roberts mentioned that maybe some of the adjustments to feel comfortable swinging the bat is kind of what has stuck with him. And now he's struggling here in the second half. But it's been a while now, and he's batting in that number 3 spot in the lineup, and it's hard to have a hole in the middle of your lineup, especially going into the postseason. So it's one of those things where, yes, you want to trust your guy and hope that he gets back, and obviously Dave Roberts, being the positive guy that he is, he still feels that way. He says, quote, "I think he's still grinding. I just have a feeling he's going to figure it out when we need it. It's been a grind for him." He said, "I still feel good that when he's in the batter's box, he's going to take a good at bat." And while I don't dismiss the fact that he's going to take a good at bat in the sense of make the pitcher work and all that kind of stuff, it's just a matter of results. And right now, I don't feel comfortable in positive results for Will Smith batting Like I said, a good at bat, yes. Can he still draw some walks here and there? Yes. But I don't feel, I don't necessarily feel the that he's going to have a positive result hitting the ball. And I probably will, just because, like, if Will Smith comes to the plate in the postseason with the runner on base, like, I still just expect him to not get that run. But that's more, it's kind of like if Kike and Chris Taylor and all these guys were struggling, but they've done it in the postseason before, then you're kind of like, well, he's done it before, so he's going to do it again type of deal. It's more of that blind faith rather than faith in the sense of, oh, yeah, he looks good and he's probably going to get a hit. But yeah, I don't know if they'll move him in the lineup in the postseason. The Dodgers have enough guys playing well and hitting well to do so. You can move up JD Martinez to that 3 spot. You can get Max Muncy in that 4 spot. Against a righty, you can get Jason Hayward in that 5 spot. You can get Will Smith down lower in the lineup if you need to. And I think it's one of those we've seen recently that the Dodgers are going to give their guys as much leash as they can, especially considering the last month the Dodgers haven't really been playing in games that mean much more than what their final record's going to be. But I think they're going to, they're giving Will Smith that long leash to figure it out. But I don't necessarily think that means he's going to be the number 3 hitter in the postseason. I do think the Dodgers would make that change if the results just aren't there. And as confident as Dave Roberts might be on the outside to the media about him figuring it out, it's been a long, over a month at this point that he hasn't figured it out. And there's not necessarily any big signs that he has figured it or like is on the realm of figuring it out. I mean, he had 1 hit over the weekend against the Giants. But other than that, he hasn't had a game where you're like, oh yeah, he's looked really good. He's had games where he's been successful. He's had hits. He had 3 hits against the Giants the other night. But then he was 0 for 5 yesterday against the Rockies. He's not striking out that much. So that's not a crazy amount. But again, it's just one of those things where I think they're letting him play out the thing. And I honestly, at this point, don't expect him to be in the number 3 hole when it comes to the postseason. I think they're going to find ways to move him down the lineup, or at least against righties, they have enough guys to move him down the lineup. Against lefties, it's more again a little bit of that blind faith. That Kike is going to hit, that whoever else is in the lineup against lefties is going to hit, and maybe they can move them higher in the lineup. But I think your top 4, no matter who's pitching at this point, should be Mookie, Freddie, JD, and Max Muncy. And then after that, you kind of fill in where, how you see necessary. So am I concerned about Will Smith? Yeah. I mean, I'm concerned he's not hitting right now. He's been he hasn't necessarily been good in the postseason in the past, but he's had big moments and he's come through in big moments. Obviously, the big home run against Will Smith in 2020. And, he's had other base hits in other years. So again, overall his numbers in the postseason, he's a 204 hitter with the 654 OPS in the postseason. But he's had 5 home runs. He had 2 home runs in that Giants series that one year. He's brought in runs, 7 RBI in that 2020 NLCS, 3 of them on that big home run. So we'll see what happens. But again, I think that we won't see Will Smith in the 3 hole when it comes to postseason. And if we do, I'm going to maybe not feel as confident as I have before with him. But, you're just going to have to ride and see what happens. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to check us out every day and become an everydayer wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. If you're not an everydayer, go ahead and start listening or watching every day, and we're going to appreciate you a little bit more. Tell your friends and family. You can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm on Vincent's91. You can DM either one of us for questions, comments, or concerns. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-LOCK. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us when you get in your car. If you're at home, tell your smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.